All right, this is 8th grade, Module 1, Lesson 4, Numbers Raised to the 0th Power. All right, we have shown that for any numbers x and y and any positive integers m and n, the following holds. So these are ones that we have done and practiced. If two numbers are being multiplied together, we add the exponents. If an exponent is being raised to another exponent, we multiply those together. And if we have two bases, both base still gets raised to the exponent. So what is our definition for the 0th power? So what if x has a 0 power? How much is it worth? It is worth 1. And that's your definition there. All right, so we're going to practice when you have an exponent of 0. What do we do with exponents of 0? Because they do have value. All right, let's look at exercise 1. List all the possible cases of whole numbers m and n for identity. Number 1, more precisely when m is greater than 0 or n is greater than 0. So we have to pick numbers that are not negatives and they have to be higher than 0. We already know that 1 is correct. What are the other possible cases for m and n for which 1 is yet to be verified? All right, so I'm just going to write down some information here. We want our m to be greater than 0. We want our n to be greater than 0 or equaling 0, okay? So we can say that m equals 0, and if that's the case, then n has to be greater than 0. If m is greater than 0, then n has to equal 0, kind of what we wrote up here. So this is a case, that's a case. And then we can also say m equals n, which gives you 0. So this would make a lot more sense if we had actual numbers. So let's kind of work out a problem here. So check that equation 1 with the case in exercise 1. So we're going to look back up at the exercise 1. If we did x to the m power times x to the 0 power. So x is 0 is multiplying itself by 1. So basically if I said x to the m power times 1 gives you what? Well, we all know anything times 1 just gives it back to you. So let's try this. If I did x to the 0 power times x to the n power, what would my answer be? It'd be x to the n power. And finally, what if I had x to the o power times x to the o power, or 0 I should say, then what's my answer going to be? X to the 0 power. So that's like 1 times 1, it's going to equal 1. All right, so let's do a little bit more practice with these. Exercise 3. Do the same with the equation by checking it case by case. All right, what if we did this? X to the m power raised to the 0 power. What does that look like? Well, that's going to be x and then 0 times m. So would this give you a value of 1? Yes. How about this? X to the 0 power times n. Well, that's going to give me x and then n times 0. Would that give me a 1? Yes. And then finally, what if we did x to the 0 power raised to the 0 power? That's going to be x, 0 times 0. Is that going to give me a value of 1? Yes. All right, so exercise 4. Do the same thing again for equation 3. So here we go. With equation 3, they had x, y to the 0 power. Well, that would be x to the 0 power times y to the 0 power. Would that give me a 1? Yes. All right, now if you're a little confused because we've been doing just variables, now let's start putting it with some numbers. Let's look at exercise 5. So they give us this number here, 8,374, and they want us to write it in exponential notation. So whenever you, first of all, you ever see the word notation, if it's exponential notation or scientific notation, that means they want you to write it out, all right? So we're going to take our first number, 8. Now you want to count backwards. This is the easiest way I do this, all right? I'm going to write the number up here just to show you. Okay. You're going to write back, count backwards, and the first number, the farthest number is going to be your 0. So that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So when I set this up, I'm going to go 8 times 10 to the 3rd power. And then I'm going to add that to the next number. What's my next number? 3. So 3 times 10 to the second power, plus our next number, 7 times 10 to the first power. And finally, my last number is 4 times 10 to the 0 power. And that's writing it out in exponential notation. So if you were to multiply this all together, you'd get that. All right, let's try one that's a little bit longer. Let me pull this up so I have a little bit more room. We have 6, 9, 8, 5, 0, 6, 2. All right, remember, start at the very end. We're going to start with 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we go. My first number, let me change up my colors here, parenthesis, and they're always going to be times 10 raised to the power, times to the 6th power. And then you add all the quantities together. So next one, 9 times 10 to the 5th, plus 8 times 10 to the 4th, plus 5 times 10 to the 3rd, plus 0 times 10 to the 2nd, and then if you run out of room, that's fine, plus 6 times 10 to the 1st, and finally plus 2 times 10 to the 0 power. And that's all you do for those. All right, so you guys are on to the problem set, numbers 1 through 5, and it's just kind of a rehearsal of everything we just did right now. Give it a try, and that will end this video tutorial.